So the book, Turning Dead Ends into Doorways, takes us through an exploration of 8 teachers, right? Fear, awareness, choice, body, intuition, energy, intention, and surrender, right?
Yay.
Yay. So obviously as we've been talking, we've been seeing that these show up all over in our lives in a lot of different ways. So how did that show up for you in writing the book? Like, how did you determine that those were the 8 that needed to be shared?
Well, again, it's based on 15 years as a healing practitioner holding individuals and groups where what
Mm,
happened is that over the years I started, so my training is in earth-based ways and in women's spirituality, and I'm also a doula, a birth doula. And
mm-hmm.
so, and then I've been doing all this, an energy worker and doing all this work with people. And so I needed to find a different language. Most of the people that I sat across from didn't come from that world. And so in order to meet them where they were in their lives, we needed to grow a language together. And what happened is over time, I began to notice these themes,
Right.
and so literally when it came time to really clarify, like, because the heart of my book is about teaching people to how to navigate the unknown in daily life. And that's a practice, but it sounds kind of amorphous. Like, what does that mean anyway? And what I realized is that when we start to grow a relationship with these 8 teachers, that teaches us how to navigate life. And I'm not trying to say that these teachers are definitive. It's just that these are the ones that
Right.
I noticed the most based on my 15 years. But there are others, and really anything can be a teacher. But for me, I just kept seeing it over and over and over again. And fear,
Mm-hmm.
awareness, body, intuition. They just kept showing up, and so that's how I arrived at the 8 teachers. And in terms of writing about them. I actually wrote the book as a journey through the unknown myself. So part of what I do,
Right.
is I offer up practices and stories with clients and exercises and teachings that I've gathered along the way. But I also chronicle what happens in my daily life by asking these teachers to come in and inform my daily life, which was frankly a wild ride for me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. Right. And so, within that, I knew that fear was first, but and surrender was last. But within that, I followed what showed up. And so these
Right.
teachers, frankly, kind of, rearranged themselves. It was, pretty solid, but there was some change that happened as I started to write.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I did it.
Yeah, and I know as I was reading it, I really appreciated that kind of personal connection with those stories because you really can see, hey, this A is somebody who knows what she's talking about because she's going through these things as she's writing, and B, I'm not by myself in dealing with these things. And C, they're almost universal. I mean, we all go through it. So it was really a fantastic journey in that way.
Mhm.
So there are a couple of the teachers that really kind of hit home for me because they're directly related to the stuff that I'm working on right now, personally and with clients in really developing spiritual foundations and core spirituality.
Mhm.
So the big one for me was awareness.
Mhm.
I am very fond of saying things like, you can't fix it if you don't know it's broken. Awareness is always the first step to change. Knowing is half the battle is my little nod to G.I. Joe, right? um, so awareness is really big for me. And one of the things that you say in the book is that awareness is foundational. Without awareness, people become lost in the unknown. And this is something that's really important to me as I do this work with myself and with other people and in, some of the upcoming courses and things that I'm working on. So how do you feel about awareness as that kind of beginning step or early step?
I mean, again, I'm with you. I think awareness is foundational. And I mean, I think the name of the chapter is, a light switch for developing consciousness. Because
Mm,
if we don't, if you aren't aware and paying attention in your life, then you can't really go any further.
right.
And awareness takes time to grow and needs to be practiced. And so a lot of the chapter is about, what does it mean to start to notice, and how do we notice by, through contemplation, through inner contemplation, like meditation or guided visualization. And also, how do we just start to notice in daily life? Notice how you're feeling, notice, themes, notice patterns.
Right.
But, and also I just want to say too that for me, part of awareness is taking, one step before that is fear. Mm-hmm. That learning how to work with fear, because a lot of times fear blocks awareness, right, because we are so caught in our fears. So for me, the first teacher of fear is it's really important to shift our relationship with fear, because a lot of times we're taught to kill fear, that we need to kill fear. And I don't really believe it's possible to kill fear. And I don't even know that that's really healthy. But at the same time, I recognize that fear can be really tricky. And so sometimes getting to know something within ourselves is so that we can navigate around it. But what I've found is that when you connect with fear, that actually connecting with fear becomes a source of awareness.
Right.
It's like you're just shifting it, so that it actually starting to notice your fear is also simultaneously growing awareness, and it's foundational. It's again, I think you could say a lot of these teachers are foundational, but there is absolutely a reason why awareness is second for me. And it wasn't, again, originally it wasn't going to be second, but after I wrote Fear, feeling awareness so strongly that I was like, I started to write, and then I looked at my little pretty outline, and it was like, oops, okay, well, I'm going to follow what's showing up here. And it was awareness. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. And a lot of times fear, we have to know where the fear is coming from in order to figure out what fear is trying to teach us, and in order to open ourselves up to that awareness. And so I think they kind of hold hands and walk together a lot of times.